So as I mentioned the other day, it's just not enough to be able to identify rhetoric at work in this play or in any text we examine, but really the challenge becomes now piecing all these ideas together into all your observations together into a coherent analysis, and that's basically what I'm going to help you start to make sense of in this lecture. It's important to note that you can find some really great models in Chapter 4 of Expository Argument, so that should be on your bookshelf in your iBooks. And I really encourage you to look very closely because there are models really on so many pages in that chapter, not only in the topic sentences section, but in a variety of other sections. So the purpose of the lesson or the lecture is to explain how topic sentences can be organized. And really for you in this rhetorical analysis of 12 Angry Men, you have 5 options. One is to organize according to time, another according to idea definition, categories or classification, cause effect, and comparison contrast. Let's start by making sense of what a topic sentence, an effective topic sentence, has in it. An effective topic sentence has 2 components. The first is an organizational choice, and that is there's some language in this topic sentence that really indicates to me as the reader how you've grouped or organized your evidence into body paragraphs, and thus how you've grouped or organized your evidence in this rhetorical analysis for presentation to me, the reader. The next very important component of a topic sentence is what's called an aspect of the thesis statement. So that is, at some point, I've got to see some language in the topic sentence that does a great job of connecting back to the thesis statement. A lot of times these are exact words, can be exact words from your thesis statement. Other times it can be words that are synonymous with the rhetorical concepts that you're talking about in your thesis statement and the ideas that you are articulating in your claim. So this is all about, this is the first step to creating a coherent analysis, and it all starts with the topic sentence. So in the end, I should see your topic sentences for your for your body paragraphs executing this formula. We're going to have some moment where you're signaling your organizational method, and another moment where we see you explicitly connecting back to the language in your thesis statement. So then, now that you have this rhetorical analysis journal, you have observed all these rhetorical moments happening, whether they be appeals or fallacious reasoning. Now comes to organizing. This is all predicated on the understanding that you have found quality examples that support a thesis statement. So one of your first options for piecing this all together, for organizing, is to group your examples according to time or chronology. This is a really simple way to execute a sense of organization. You're simply just going to organize your evidence according to the order of when it happens. And for us, for 12 Angry Men, this means that you're going to group according to Act 1 or Act 2. So this is a really, like I said, it's a pretty straightforward approach, a really effective approach. So many of you, I would think, are probably going to end up grouping your examples according to chronology. So you're going to focus one body paragraph and one topic sentence on the examples that you found from Act 1 regarding your juror's argument, and the examples then that you found from Act 2 you can then group into a second topic sentence and thus a second body paragraph. For all these models in this lecture, in the interest of time, I'm not going to read them one by one, read these sentences. I'll let you do that on your own and just kind of hit pause. But I'll explain what's happening for sure. So in these topic sentences, you see the writer really clearly indicate, hey, I've grouped my examples according to chapters. In this case, this novel, Lord of the Flies, is broken down into chapters. So he found several examples from Chapter 1 and several examples from Chapter 3, and so he's grouped his examples accordingly. Then what we see is the writer do a really excellent job of using language to connect back, which is all this green language. Very clearly connects back to the ideas in the thesis statement. These are very effective topic sentences for these reasons. We see an organizational method, in this case chronology, and we see clear coherence with the thesis statement. Another method is definition. This is a little bit more sophisticated and more complicated of an organizational method. And what this comes down to is that you've gathered examples to support your thesis statement, and you have discerned that you can group them according to definition, and that is your examples really are defining an idea from your thesis statement in a particular way, so that in each topic sentence you're focusing on a distinct definition in each topic sentence of some word or phrase from your thesis statement. So in this model, this blue language signals the organizational method of definition, and what we see is that basically the writer is defining leadership. That one definition, based on the examples he or she has gathered, is leadership is an ability to restrain emotion. Leadership, secondly, is the ability to recognize that those who commit crimes must receive consequences. And so we're also seeing this connection back to the thesis statement, this green language here, very explicitly connecting back to the character. And then, of course, by defining leadership, you're inherently connecting back to that as well. A lot of times when you write organize according to definition, you kind of go into the situation, into the analysis, knowing that's what you're going to do. I think it's probably pretty rare where you gather examples and then you're looking at your examples and thinking about how can I organize here, and you say to yourself, oh, I'm pretty much defining this idea from my thesis statement. It can happen, but I think most of the time, as I said, you go into it knowing that that's what you're going to do. Another possibility is to group your examples according to categories or classifications. So now, instead of defining that idea, you're going to break it into categories. So you're going to break that word or that phrase into different categories, not just define it. So each topic sentence would focus on, again, and this is the key to definition and to categories, classification, you're focusing on distinct categories or classifications. So in this model, these are very effective topic sentences. So in the end, what this writer has done is they have classified or categorized this language here from the thesis statement, the location and the journey toward maturity. And they've broken it down into two categories. One category, again, this is the blue language, is this impressionable stage of childhood. That's the first location on the journey toward maturity that I want to discuss. This is what my examples are pointing to. And the second category, we're going to be discussing this next stage, this contemplative stage of pre-adolescence. So again, much like I said with definition, it's almost, you kind of go into it knowing that you're going to be grouping or classifying or categorizing your examples. I think it's pretty rare when you write an essay and you examine your examples that you discern, oh, I can group according to categories, I'll just classify this idea. You go into it knowing this is probably what you want to execute. And then again, if you notice the green language, we're connecting back to the thesis statement very explicitly. And so effective topic sentences for that reason. Then there's cause-effect, which is a very, very challenging way to organize your examples. But what you're doing is you're going to group your examples so that you can show the reader you're seeing some causal relationship in the text. So if you choose to tackle this kind of organizational method and really this kind of essay, then you have a couple of options. You can group your examples cause by effect. So that means that in one topic sentence you could focus on a cause, and another topic sentence you could focus on an effect. If there's a second cause, you can focus on a second cause in another topic sentence, etc. Yet another more sophisticated option is to group by particular causes and effects in each topic sentence. So you're specifically linking a cause, an effect in each body paragraph. So again, this is a really sophisticated kind of argument. As we have discussed, faulty causality is a logical fallacy, can be a hole in argumentation, and it's very important that you're aware of that. because that could happen with your essay if you're not careful, which is why that if you do choose to write a cause-effect argument, I am going to actually require that you conference with me about your essay. I'm going to conference with most of you anyway, but you definitely have to conference with me if you choose to organize in this way. And the last thing that I'll say about cause-effect, please, a cause-effect argument for this rhetorical analysis would not be, you know, this juror uses this particular logical fallacy and the effect is that he has an ineffective argument. If you end up going that direction, I will tell you right now, that is not going to be that's not going to be a good approach, and so we're not doing that. That is not a causal relationship, because in the end, you're not really talking. If you have this kind of language in your thesis statement, his argument's effective, his argument is ineffective, you're still not addressing the task in a rhetorical analysis, which is you have to explain to me how the rhetoric functions. You just can't simply tell me he's good at arguing and he's bad at arguing. That's simply just not good enough. So here's a model for you. In this case, he is organizing cause effect by cause effect. So you see here's a cause reflecting on his childhood and then the corresponding effect. In the second topic sentence, cause, corresponding effect. And then of course inherently he's connecting back here to the topic sentence, the thesis statement, one's memory, self-improvement. So this is a pretty sophisticated argument, a sophisticated organizational choice this particular writer made. And your final option would be comparison, contrast. I think probably many of you are going to end up comparing two or more jurors. So this will be obviously the choice that you'd want to make. So this is when you're going to organize examples according to particular similarities and or differences that you're noticing between the jurors. And you have a couple of options. You can organize your evidence similarity or contrast by similarity or contrast, so that in each topic sentence you're going to be focusing on a distinct similarity or a distinct difference that you see happening between the jurors. Another option is to organize item by item, and so in this case you would be organizing your examples by particular jurors. So if you're comparing juror 5 and juror 8, then you would focus on juror 5 in one paragraph, juror 8 in another paragraph. So character by character. And if you're comparing, if you have another juror in the mix, then obviously you would have them focus on them in another topic sense and thus another paragraph. This is a pretty simple default way to organize a comparison and contrast essay item by item. The other method is a bit more sophisticated. Both are effective though. So in this model, directly from an analysis of 12 Angry Men from one of my former students, they are writing a comparison between the 10th and the 3rd jurors. And so what they're doing is they're focusing on specific similarities in both topic sentences, and that's what you see in blue. The first similarity is that both commit generalizations and slippery slope fallacies, and that we see as the corresponding prejudice come to light. Another similarity is that they both use ad populums and ad hominems, and thus we see this discrimination emphasized. Pretty effective organizational choice here. And then of course they're explicitly connecting back, which is what this green language is, connecting back to those jurors, and not to mention, when they use this word fallacies, or they name the specific fallacies, they're connecting back to that language there as well. So to recap, some strategies here, some suggestions. Really let your evidence dictate the organization and wording of your topic sentences. If you're starting to see the pattern where, oh yeah, I've got examples from both acts, and well, that pattern of chronology is emerging. So go ahead and let your evidence dictate how you're going to organize here. Also, those ideas that you record in column 3 of your rhetorical analysis journal, you really should be letting those ideas help word your main sentences. So that's why that journal is very important. You know, you don't want to approach it haphazardly or apathetically. You really want to do good work there, because you're going to lay the groundwork oftentimes for the analysis or analyses and arguments and synthesis essays that you're going to write this year. The more quality examples you find, the better your chances are of some organizational pattern coming to light. Clearly, if you found poor evidence, you know, organizing poor evidence just isn't possible. So this is all predicated, as I said at the very start, of you finding quality textual examples, and for that matter, having a quality thesis statement. Keep in mind, too, you can organize according to multiple organizational methods. So you could organize your topic sentences according to time and comparison, for example. So in each topic sentence, you would signal that you're organizing in that way. And as always, a good strategy, you know, for determining whether or not you have a good sense of organization in your essay, whether or not you're really grouping your examples well in your body paragraphs, in your topic sentences, is to conference, and we can sit down and definitely make sense of whether or not your organizational pattern is working, and then I could certainly offer some suggestions for different directions for organization if I do see something. So feel free to schedule a conference always.